Coming up, the alt-country band The Wandering Sons perform in our studios, but first, musician and writer Tim Steil recalls Christmas in small-town Illinois and how the best gift didn't come in a box.
When I was a child, we always celebrated Christmas on Christmas Eve. My mother explained that it was the way they had done it back in Canada, though I never understood whether it was a Canadian thing, something from our Icelandic ancestors, or just a family oddity. Regardless, that was the day the meal was cooked and the night the presents were opened. When I was a very young boy, there was another tradition, feeding Auntie Mamie's bird. Every Christmas Eve, right after dinner, just when I was about to burst from the anticipation of opening my presents, my father would bundle me up and drive me across town to feed this bird that, as I recall now, had actually been dead for several years. From then on, we simply went to check the furnace. And no matter what mission we were on, invariably when we got back, Santa had come. More presents under the tree and 2 snowy footprints on the rug in front of the door as evidence. In the coming years, my brother was drafted, my sister went off to college, and my father suffered a massive stroke, after which he was never able to work or even drive again for the rest of his life. My mother, now faced with being the family's sole breadwinner, drifted back and forth between minimum-wage jobs and began a slow downward spiral into alcoholism. I entered high school knowing the unique pleasures that are powdered milk and government cheese. It was about that time I got my first guitar.
Open up your eyes, see a lifetime flourish. Open up and let the light.
By the next Christmas, I had moved beyond smoke on the water, and it was that year, on Christmas Eve, when my brother, now back from the Army, long hair, beard, and Volkswagen van, arrived with his family and a black chipboard guitar case under his arm. My first acoustic, and I still have it. Like every mopey 14-year-old boy, I was consumed by it and music in general. I learned every Neil Young song I could, and to this day sound so much like Neil Young when I sing. I don't sing. I eventually stopped playing drums in the school band and immersed myself in guitar and mandolin and fiddle and banjo. While my classmates were off woe-duding over Kansas and Boston and Sabbath, I was digging deep into the Highwood String Band, Gid Tanner and the Skillet Lickers, and Uncle Dave Macon. Then a new Christmas tradition began. We would have the same turkey, the same green bean casserole, cranberry in a can, sauerkraut, and burned rolls. But hours before that, my brother and I would steal away to my bedroom, or perhaps light a fire in the wood stove in the basement and hang out there. We'd snarf a couple beers, have a couple of illicit puffs, pull up some chairs, take out the instruments. Then, with him on fiddle, me on guitar or banjo, we would play. Soldier's Joy, Billy in the Low Ground, Cripple Creek, and Whiskey Before Breakfast. Sourwood Mountain, the 8th of January, Old Joe Clark, and Little Beggar Man. Some of them date back to the Revolutionary War. If you closed your eyes with the crackling fire and sweet applewood smoke, you could imagine doing the very same thing 100 years before in a cabin on this very same Illinois prairie. It took me 1,000,000 miles from where I was, that music, and that was probably the best gift I could have asked for those few years. The next time I came home for Christmas, I was in a uniform, headed for my new duty station. The next time after that, I had a new wife and daughter. The next time after that, I didn't. This year, I have another wife, another daughter, and a son to boot. We'll celebrate Christmas on Christmas Day instead of Christmas Eve, because that's the way they did it back in Poland. We'll have the same turkey, green bean casserole, cranberry from a can, sauerkraut, and burned rolls. And for a few hours before that, while dinner is cooking, I'll sit in the back room with my guitar, noodling Christmas carols and occasionally picking out a few notes of Soldier's Joy, grabbing my banjo to see if I still remember Cripple Creek, and perhaps this year, taking the fiddle out of the closet and playing a squeaky version of Sourwood Mountain.
Tim Steil is the author of Route 66 and Highway 61 Revisited, 1,699 miles from New Orleans to Pigeon River.